Please join me in welcoming the Enactus team from the University of Ottawa. Please open their report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. So Cody, if you could share that in the chat. Perfect, thank you. So judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the report. Judges, please now turn your attention to the screen as we play the video.
Plastic is everywhere. Every year, over 300 million tons of plastic are produced globally, with only 9% of it ever being recycled. The other 91% piles up in our landfills and pollutes our oceans. We found ourselves asking, why does only 9% get recycled? Plastic's useful life doesn't end as soon as it's thrown away. It's still a material with an abundance of potential. Our team saw an opportunity to address this problem by using business principles and entrepreneurial leadership to create sustainable, positive impact. We have a raw material that's doing damage to our planet. We need a solution that turns this waste back into something valuable.
Our solution is Poly, an innovative social enterprise that manufactures small-scale plastic recycling systems that enable entrepreneurs to create their own business by turning discarded plastic into new recycled products. Our system consists of a shredder machine that shreds down plastic into small pieces and an injection molder that takes those pieces, melts them down, and shapes them into new products using interchangeable molds.
Poly systems are purchased, owned, and operated by local entrepreneurs, community organizations, or educational institutions. Our machines are simple, affordable, and can be operated by anyone, regardless of their technical experience. We work with our operators to build a business around their Poly system. We help them identify sources of plastic waste to collect, develop products that are relevant to their community, and design job opportunities, helping them build partnerships to make their Poly system successful. What's more, we also offer an educational program that operators can use to engage their community with their system. Operators can earn an average of $16,000 of profit per year by selling recycled plastic goods, all while creating employment opportunities for community members and eliminating a significant local waste stream. To make sure Poly itself is sustainable, we developed 3 key revenue streams. The first is earned upon the sale of each system, which is sold for $25,000 at 25% profit margins. We then charge a consulting fee for training and on-site installation. Finally, we've created a recurring revenue stream through our mold design and fabrication service that entrepreneurs can tap into when they're ready to expand their product lines. To help others start a business, we knew that we had to become experts ourselves. In Ottawa, we launched our own venture called Shine, a sustainable eyewear company that sells glasses made out of recycled ocean plastic. This year, we officially launched and have already generated over $3,500 in revenue, created green jobs for 9 individuals with disabilities, and diverted over 10,000 water bottles worth of plastic waste out of the ocean.
With the COVID-19 pandemic, Poly faced challenges that could not have been foreseen. Due to the city health regulations, our production and shipping processes were put to a complete halt for the majority of the year. What's more, our workshop space closed down, forcing us to move out. However, we didn't let these challenges stop us. At Enactus U Ottawa, we strive to find ways around unforeseen challenges and continue to deliver meaningful impact. Our team knew that Poly's mission couldn't stop. We developed virtual sustainability workshops and delivered them to over 350 youth in Ottawa. What's more, we built a sustainable entrepreneurship program that uses Poly's system to teach youth how to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. Last year, we delivered a system to Luke in New Brunswick. Since then, he's been giving workshops to his community on sustainable entrepreneurship using his system as an example. And now, we're getting ready to ship our next system to Malone Middle School in New York. In 2019, Malone stopped accepting plastic for recycling, but in the next few weeks, the students will be receiving their Poly system, bringing plastic recycling back to their county. Students in Jennifer's class will be learning entrepreneurial skills by selling their own products made from recycled plastic.
This year, our team brought in over $70,000 in revenue, and our network of Poly systems has diverted over 40,000 water bottles worth of plastic waste. And we're just getting started. We're empowering communities across North America to run systems of their own and take control of their plastic waste. This summer, our 4th system will be deployed to the Anjanaw First Nation to create an Indigenous-owned and operated recycling business. And this September, our 5th system is going to a high school in our hometown, where the youth will be working with their system to create their own business out of their school's plastic waste.
And that's only a few of the 4 additional systems that we expect to have operational by the end of this year. In total, our 7 systems will divert over 10 million water bottles worth of plastic waste annually. This is how our team creates solutions. Solutions that give young entrepreneurs the tools they need to make a change. With Poly, we're empowering entrepreneurs across North America to tackle the plastic waste crisis in a way that is economically viable, socially responsible, and environmentally sustainable. This is Poly, and we are Enactus U Ottawa.
It's now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each student say their school name to make sure your audio is working properly.
University of Ottawa.
University of Ottawa.
Perfect, thank you. And judges, you can go ahead and please send me your questions through the chat. First question from Andrew Bruegel of TD Wealth. What do you consider to be the greatest potential growth market for your process?
Yeah, so I think with Poly, what we've really seen this year with our target markets, we work with entrepreneurs, community groups, and schools. But what we've really seen this year is that teachers and schools do see a lot of value in running a system. The entrepreneurship curriculum that we built around our system allows teachers to both teach their students about entrepreneurship and launching their own venture, while also creating an opportunity to recycle plastic within their own school. So we do see that as a very prime kind of market for us in the future, and it's something that we will focus on.
Next question from Nokwanda Sukati of TD Insurance. What has been the challenge in sales as the project started in 2017? It has been 4 years.
So
yeah, that's really, fair.
Go ahead, Carter.
Okay, so definitely something that's been tough for us over the past few years has been developing our system to a point where it's ready to be sold. So we've been running for about 3 years now, fully. And we do have our kind of final machines ready as of last year, so about the 3rd year in. We've been through about 3 different product iterations, and we really wanted to focus on getting the machines right. Now that we're there, as soon as we got ready, COVID hit, unfortunately. So we have been a bit slower this year as our production did kind of slow down for about 6 months or so. We are getting back up there now, and we are ready to be shipping about to get to the total of 7 systems in our pipeline by the end of about next year.
Question from Joelle Mercer, who wants a confirmation that Shine had a revenue of $3,500. The rest of revenue was from other operator systems sold this year or previous?
Yes, so the revenue is a bit of a combination. The Shine is from $3,500, and then the rest of the $70,000 of revenue is a mix of grants as well as revenue from selling Poly systems as well.
Judges, any more questions? I have no questions in the chat. Feel free to send any more questions. We still have about a minute left. Question here from Andrew Bruegel. What is the optimal end state for this venture?
That's a good question. So in the short term, we have 2 main goals, and that's to have the 7 systems operational by the end of next year. And then with 2 systems currently operational and 1 ready to ship in the next month, we're confident that our current processes will allow us to have 4 more systems sold. And then in the long term, success to us would be to have 10 northern communities within our sales pipeline to ensure that we're filling up the recycling gap between remote communities and recycling infrastructure. And then we plan to accomplish this by partnering with multinational companies to sponsor these systems to communities in need across Canada up north. Of course, success to us as well is seeing our operators succeed and meet their goals. And then we plan to continue on doing this by finding more ways to support them and ensure that they see success with their Poly machine.
Time has expired. Judges, please join me in congratulating the University of Ottawa. Judges, we have a couple of minutes as we bring the next team in. Please use this time to complete your green sheet, and then we'll get started momentarily. Please join me in welcoming the Enactus team from Okanagan College. Please open their report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat. and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. Judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the reports. Judges, please turn your attention to the screen as we play the video.
Growing up in a small community, I noticed there was a lot of fruit going to waste, yet there were many kids who weren't getting enough to eat. My friend Julie was one of them, but being a part of Enactus OC helped me recognize this challenge as an opportunity.
Abby's friend was just one of many children left hungry. According to the Canadian Feed the Children charity, 1.2 million children in Canada struggle to get enough to eat every day, yet there are 36 million tons of consumable food wasted. 3 years ago, we noticed an abundance of apples in local orchards going to waste. Nutritious food was not making it from farm to fork. We saw an opportunity to take leadership, and we created Fruit Snaps. Fruit Snaps works with local farmers to rescue this unwanted fruit and turn it into a healthy snack to combat food insecurity. With the help of the Gleaners, a local nonprofit organization focused on addressing global hunger, we created an innovative process to dehydrate the apples and turn them into apple chips. In our pilot year, we tested our business model by distributing Fruit Snaps to over 300 children at local schools. But that was just the beginning.
In our second year, we had so many orders for Fruit Snaps that we expanded our project into our campus in the city of Penticton. We also created a new innovative process to increase our production capacity by over 500%. This allowed our team to repurpose more than 18,500 pounds of apple waste, producing 35,000 servings of Fruit Snaps. These servings were supplied to 18 local schools and organizations, as well as international groups in both North Korea and Ukraine. Last spring, when all of our schools closed abruptly due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were left with an excess capacity. So what did we do? We pivoted our strategy and expanded our project to supply local food banks and help those who needed it most. So when life gives us apples, we make apple juice.
In response to the pandemic this fall, we took our existing program used to prevent food waste and significantly increased our production volume by meeting the growing demand of access to nutritious food. We took Fruit Snaps and made it even better, changed it into financially viable social enterprise. And we did this through the introduction of fresh pressed orchard apple juice. This innovation during the worst of COVID-19 represents the best of Enactus OC, and we capitalized on this opportunity to scale our impact and take it to the next level.
Using sound business principles, we implemented all the processing, packaging, and marketing of this new product. And to date, we have produced 2,000 liters of juice from the apples that would have otherwise gone to waste. We implemented multi-channel sales using e-commerce and direct-to-retailer sales, and our good juice was such a success that in only 4 short months, we sold all of our inventory, generating $5,500 in revenue and a gross profit margin of 57%.
Our team has developed a sustainable business revenue model that will allow us to pay farmers for their apples and even higher at-risk youth.
During COVID, our creativity and entrepreneurial leadership allowed us to pick twice as many apples as last year, and the Gleaners increased their production support. Additionally, through our partnership with BC Tree Fruits, we received another 6,000 pounds of apples. As a result, we were able to donate 41,000 servings to local schools, food banks, and international organizations. This is an increase of 17% from last year, while meeting all recommended public health guidelines.
This year, we also piloted a new program to educate and empower young entrepreneurs in our community. The success of this endeavor provides us with a new way to scale our project beyond the Enactus team. Next year, several grade 5 classes from local schools will not only learn about entrepreneurship, but be able to run their own Fruit Snaps social enterprise by picking apples, selling juice, and distributing Fruit Snaps in their own school. This approach not only exposes students to entrepreneurial practices, but empowers the next generation of changemakers.
Our vision is getting noticed. In February, we received $10,000 from the Investment Readiness Program funded by the Government of Canada. The goal of this program is to create more resilient, equitable, and sustainable communities. These funds will enable us to grow our sales revenue by expanding our marketing initiatives, further developing our brand, and increasing our partnerships with local businesses. Fruit Snaps rescues apples from spoilage, produces shelf-stable products, minimizes food waste, and teaches youth about social entrepreneurship, and provides sustenance for those who need it most. Our social enterprise channels money back into farms, sustaining small businesses, orchards, and our environment. Because Fruit Snaps isn't just a project.
It's a sustainable social enterprise.
It's a healthy, nutritious snack.
It's a refreshing way to make a profit.
It's a plan for a better future.
It's now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop-down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each student please just state your school name to make sure that your audio is working properly.
Okanagan College.
Okanagan College.
Okanagan College.
Okanagan College.
Okanagan College.
Thank you. Let's get started with the first question from Glenn Dawson of TD Wealth. Could you please elaborate on your supply chain? For example, how reliant are you on the gleaners to pick your apples? Do you anticipate any trouble accessing apple trees as your business expands?
So we partner directly with local orchards who have an abundance of apples that are either too small or don't meet the quality needs of the fruit co-ops. So when these farmers take apples that aren't up to spec to the fruit co-ops, they're actually getting charged a chargeback fee and a composting fee, and it can get rather expensive for the farmers. If they leave the apples on the trees, then it harms next year's harvest. So we partner with these orchardists, and any unwanted apples that they have on the trees, we come in and our team members pick the apple fruit. We've also had volunteers from local businesses such as TD, Vantage One, and Toyota come out. And we also partner with schools to do field trips out to the orchards so that we can have the children pick the apples and give them an opportunity to teach them about the project. We use the Gleaners facility to help process the apples and use up their excess capacity to fill the unused space inside their dehydrators.
Question from Megan Gold of TD Insurance. I understand this is local at the moment. Do you intend to expand nationally?
We have actually used the Gleaners to ship our product internationally and to other parts of Canada. They ship meals to food insecure places in the world that really need help. And a lot of times they have unused capacity inside their cargo containers that we are allowed to fill up with fruit snaps. In the past, we've shipped fruit snaps to Ukraine, North Korea, Guatemala, Armenia, and we got to ship them up to an Aboriginal community in Nunavut. As we expand this project, we're trying to partner with other Enactus schools and colleges and teach them how to run fruit snaps in their own schools so that this project can go nationwide. We've already tested this model out with our Penticton campus, and they were able to successfully implement the project into their own community and are now running that project independent and free from any help from us.
Question from Max Tardy of TD Insurance. Are the farms compensated for the unwanted fruit?
Currently, any apples that the farms want to donate that go towards the fruit snaps portion of our project, we haven't been paying for. But now that we're introducing a social enterprise aspect into the model, we plan to pay the farmers a price for the apples that are used for the juice. And considering the fact that they're actually paying to dispose of these apples, by us giving them a revenue, it will significantly help the business model for these local orchardists who are already struggling to make enough money to keep their farms operating.
Question from Nokwanda Sukati. What has been a challenge with your initiative to create any jobs?
The main challenge in the past year has been getting enough volunteers and labor out with all of the COVID restrictions to actually pick and process as many apples as we have access to. And going forward into the future—
Your time has expired. Judges, please join me in congratulating Okanagan College. Judges, we have a couple of minutes as we bring the next team. Please use this time to complete your green sheet and we'll get started momentarily. Please join me in welcoming the Enactus team from St. Francis Xavier University. Please open their report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. Judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review their report. Judges, please turn your attention to the screen as we play the video.
So you guys are here at the Girls Mean Business Workshop. Why did you want to come?
I thought it'd be fun because I love crafts.
I want to learn how to make a business.
I thought it was kind of cool how we were learning about entrepreneurship.
And so what does entrepreneurship mean to you? What do you think that's all about?
I feel like it's having your own ideas and sort of evolving the ideas into something.
I think it's to have your own business and to be in charge of it.
So can you guys tell me a little bit about what you've been doing here at the workshop?
We've been learning how to do like a business plan and everything like that.
We've been looking at slideshows that they made. We've been making posters, and today we made crafts.
So the crafts that you're making today, what happens next?
We sell them at the market.
And then what happens to the money that you make?
We're donating it to the CACL.
What's the CACL?
The Canadian Associated Community Living. It's a living place for adults with mental disabilities.
What kinds of things have you learned so far in the program?
How to start like a business plan.
I learned that there's a lot of ways you can market your stuff and get the word out about it.
I learned about like how you price things and how you can get your word out and like how you can make things.
I learned that there are a lot of really good ways on how to sell, make, and market your products.
It takes time, like it takes a lot of time to plan a business. You need to have the motivation to do it because it takes a long time to make a business plan.
Why do you think it's important that women run their own businesses, or there's more women running businesses?
So women can be in power too sometimes.
To show men that we can do it too.
Because women are usually underrated when it comes to business and many other things. So I think that this class is really showing that women can do anything.
I think that it's important for girls to have their own businesses because then it gives younger people, especially younger girls, a good role model to look up to.
History usually wants males to run businesses, but I think girls and boys should have the same chances.
Can you guys see yourselves? Are you going to run your own businesses someday?
Definitely.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Anyone have an idea for a particular business they want to run?
I want to be a landscape architect.
For me, I would probably open up my own baking shop.
So we're currently here in St. Francis Xavier University, and we are doing a 4-week Girls Mean Business program for youth who are 11 to 14, living in Antigonish and interested in entrepreneurship. I think that there's a big gap in terms of the amount of women that are in entrepreneurship, and I think that in entrepreneurship you're your own boss, which is so cool. It's not often that you're seeing women in those roles. So at this key age when they're kind of thinking about what they want to do as they get older, having them exposed to entrepreneurship and realizing that they can do it and they're great at it, as we've seen in this program, is so important. And so it's been awesome just meeting these girls, and they all have such cool ideas and are so keen and interested in running their own business, and being leaders and bosses is amazing. So the first week we did a business plan and an introduction. The second week we did marketing, so they were actually exposed to online marketing tools, and I'll show you the posters after, but they made incredible posters. And then today we did product creation. Next week we're going to do finance, so we're going to realize how much did we spend on all the material, how much can we sell it for. And then next Sunday we're doing a farmer's market at the Legion, which is specific for holidays. And the girls are going to have an opportunity to actually sell the products that they're making. Because it was in person, we had to cap it at 12 girls, but I got over 60 emails from parents interested in having their daughters sign up. And so, yeah, the community response is amazing. And even people who didn't have daughters or girls that they knew that would be interested would email me back and say, this is such a wonderful initiative, like there's nothing like this happening. And in the school system, they're also not exposed to entrepreneurship. So the response has been incredible, for sure.
It is now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have both of you say your school name, please, to make sure your audio is working properly.
St. Francis Xavier University.
Francis Xavier University.
Thank you, and I'll start with the first question. From Andrew Bruegel, do you have plans to enhance this program using technology to broaden your reach, especially during a pandemic?
Yeah, so we, this summer, the Center for Employment and Innovation is planning on hoping to kind of spend the summer developing this program to match where our world is at today, and knowing that technology and engineering, for example, is currently kind of dominating the entrepreneurial field, and learning those skills is incredibly important. And so we're trying to kind of revamp the program so it can be more of an after-school program. And in that, the girls will have the opportunity to basically get exposed to those different avenues of entrepreneurship so that they can learn those really critical skills.
Question from Glenn Dawson of TD Wealth. What is the succession plan as the organizers graduate and proceed with their lives? How will Girls Mean Business continue to survive and thrive?
So this summer, I'm currently working to kind of develop this program and expand it. And in that summer, I'm looking to find some other people who currently go to St. FX to take it on. Luckily, kind of how we've been working our Enactus team in general, and how I had my volunteers in this program, we basically always try to have somebody in a VP senior and a VP junior role, so that the junior can kind of watch the senior in the initial year. And then once that senior graduates, the junior has already been exposed and is able to take it on pretty seamlessly.
Speaking of expansion, question from Megan Gold of TD Insurance. Would you consider training people in other provinces to host these same programs?
That's definitely a consideration that we've spoken about a little bit. Right now, we want to solidify it to be the best that it can be in Nova Scotia before we expand it onwards, because we don't want to take on something that's bigger than we can handle and then it not be the best that it could be in that situation.
Question from Joelle Mercer of TD. How are you ensuring ongoing success for girls that have graduated or left your program?
Again, that's something that we've been working on, or we plan on working on for the summer, and basically having it so that the volunteers are acting more in a mentor position, and that's something that they can continuously have a contact with somebody who's older and graduated to ensure that they're, you know, have someone to look up to or ask for questions about as they grow and develop as entrepreneurs. And then hopefully having, just because they're younger, it's a little bit harder. It's not like you can be like, oh, like join this Facebook page of everybody, because that's not the situation that the girls are in. And so basically just our main way of trying to do that is holding the mentors accountable to checking up on these.
Expired. Judges, please join me in congratulating St. Francis Xavier University. Judges, we have a couple of minutes as we bring the next team. Please use this time to complete your green sheet and we'll get started momentarily. Please join me now in welcoming the Enactus team from Lambton College. Please open their report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. Judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the report. Judges, please turn your attention now to the screen as we play the video.
After spending 9 years and 30 trips to Zambia, Africa, building a scaled and sustained food security project, it was time to bring our project home.
This year, we launched Project One Circle, and we've begun work in 31 First Nations across the country.
Today, we would like to highlight our projects taking place in Muscadet, Mistawasis, Nehewak, and Muskeg Lake First Nations.
Through our needs assessment with each nation, we quickly determined economic development and food security are pressing needs.
COVID-19 has only heightened these needs.
This year, we have launched the building of 4 greenhouses, 3 aquaponics facilities, and 2 food forests.
The 4 greenhouses were built this past summer, and they are the first step in securing food security, supplying each nation with a year-round supply of fresh fruits and vegetables while increasing revenue.
600,000 pounds of food will be grown each year from the greenhouses, providing a new income stream of over $200,000 for each nation, while adding to food security.
Each greenhouse is also built beside a school, allowing students and community members to learn hands-on about traditional land-based learning and sustainable agriculture.
Our second project is the building of 3 aquaponics facilities, 1 in each nation.
Aquaponics is an innovative system of aquaculture in which the waste produced by fish supplies nutrients for plants grown hydroponically, which in turn purify the water.
Compared to traditional farming, aquaponics uses 90% less water.
Aquaponics continuously recycles water through the plants and fish tank, so the only water lost is through evaporation from the fish tank.
An aquaponics system utilizes the ammonia and nitrogen waste from the fish by converting the ammonia into nitrate, which are then recycled back into the plants.
The plants then consume the nitrates as their main nutrient source.
This system provides nutrients and an oxygen-rich environment for the roots of aquaponic plants.
The plants grow 3 times as fast and produce 8 times more food per acre compared to traditional farming.
The innovative technology of aquaponics also provides a tremendous opportunity for commercialization.
The aquaponics systems are being designed to train First Nations staff on the operation and maintenance of the system.
Once the nations are trained and ready, the facilities will be expanded to much larger commercial businesses.
The demand for seafood and fish products is greater than what is possible to catch in the wild.
Within the next 10 years, aquaculture output has to double production to keep up with global demand.
But the biggest opportunity is right here in North America.
We produce only 1% of global aquaculture production, yet we consume nearly 13% of the world production.
In dollar values, we consume over $32 billion of the world's aquaculture production and produce just over $2 billion.
The demand is here, and our First Nation partners are going to meet it. Over the next 12 months, the greenhouses, aquaponics, and food forests will supply these 3 nations with over 725,000 pounds of food worth over $835,000. We have met the goals of increasing food security while creating new streams of revenue for each nation. Our final project is super cool and so innovative, and we have ownership in the business.
Better Earthworms produces a general-purpose, high-quality organic plant fertilizer.
This plant fertilizer, known as vermicompost, is made from food waste.
Food waste is fed into the flow-through system that hosts hundreds of thousands of worms.
The worms eat the food waste, creating a product that is sold as an organic soil fertilizer, one that's superior to man-made chemical fertilizers.
What kind of product do the worms create?
Worm casings, or worm manure.
You mean worm poop?
Yes, I mean worm poop.
Better Earthworms produces a green, renewable, all-natural organic product.
It's a product for the land, from the land, produced by people of the land.
This provides us with a significant competitive advantage. In a $77 million market, and organic fertilizer is poised to more than double by 2026.
Further, research shows that 20% of all food produced in Canada annually becomes avoidable food loss.
That's 11 million tons.
But we are diverting that waste from the landfill and converting it to the highest quality soil amendment.
Our vermicompost fertilizer is already being sold directly to consumers, and soon 4 garden centers in Regina will be selling it.
We are on target to generate $70,000 in revenue this year, creating 3 new jobs while diverting 52,000 pounds of food waste from landfills.
Our project has been perfectly designed to bring together the best of modern agriculture, generate income, while reviving traditional Indigenous approaches to food production.
We would like to thank TD for giving us this incredible opportunity to showcase our passionate work.
It is now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each of you 3 to say your school name, please, to make sure your audio is working properly.
Lambton College.
Lambton College.
Lambton College.
Thank you. And let's get started with the question period. First question from Joelle Mercer of TD. Where does funding come from to build greenhouses and aqua? How will you be able to scale your business?
So I'll start with the funding part of that question. So for the greenhouses, each of the 3 nations actually paid for the greenhouses all on their own. And so it wasn't a substantial cost to each of the nations, but the reason for this is so that way the nations have ownership of the projects and they really take pride in the work and they're investing all of their own money and their time and efforts into it. So that way it's just a better way for them to be successful in the future. As far as the aquaponics facilities, those are a bit more expensive. And so we were able to locate funding for the 3 nations through NICFI, which is the Northern Integrated Commercial Fisheries Initiative, and the DFO. We're also working in partnership with Wabatech, which is located out of Ontario. And so we secured around $500,000 in funding actually for those 3 aquaponics facilities. And just bear in mind, they are also training size facilities. So they are expensive, but through this initiative, we're able to secure funding for them. Would you be able to, repeat the second part of that question for me?
Absolutely. The question was, how will you be able to scale your business?
Yes, and that's another really great question. And there's many pieces to scaling this project. One of the main ones being that we operate with the train the trainer method. And so we don't go in and just give people ideas of what to do, but instead we actually go in, we listen to these communities and we transfer our knowledge to them. And a really big piece of working with First Nations communities is building that connection with them and having a relationship with them. And so, so we go in, we sit down, we talk to them and ask them what kinds of projects they want, what needs they have, and what goals they want to accomplish. And this allows us to ensure that we are choosing projects and working with them to create projects that fulfill those needs and that are also viable. And by doing this, we're ensuring that they'll be able to scale them up by starting in a small way and working on something that's really meaningful to them. And then, like I said already, we use the train the trainer method. So we're constantly transferring our knowledge to community members in these nations. And with that being said, we're also, our team ourselves, we're also receiving training constantly. So we're not experts on aquaponics, obviously. We're not agronomists, but we work in combination with other partners that are able to come in and teach us everything that we need to know. So right now we're actually receiving training on all of these aquaponics facilities. So that way we're able to go into the nations and help them to be able to take care of these aquaponics centers.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Judges, please join me in congratulating Lambton College. Judges, we now have a scheduled break. Please ensure you are back at your screens no later than 2:25 p.m. and when we will begin the last 3 presentations. So once again, back at your screens, please, no later than 2:25 p.m. when we will begin the last 3 presentations. Thank you. Okay, judges, we are going to get started again. It's 2:25. We were able to have a slightly longer break because we were actually ahead of schedule, which rarely happens. So we are going to welcome the next Enactus team from the University of Saskatchewan. So please open the report from the University of Saskatchewan again, from the link in your Gmail, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. And judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the report. For those of you just coming back, we're starting with the University of Saskatchewan. Judges, please turn your attention to the screen as we play the video.
Before we start, we would like to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis.
Helen Oro, world traveler, only Canadian and Indigenous designer at the NBA All-Star Weekend Fashion Show in 2018.
Kendall Netmaker, Maclean's Magazine Future Leaders Under 25.
Devin Fiddler, She Native, winner of Startup Canada Young Entrepreneur of the Year.
What do these individuals have in common? They've all went on to receive recognition and awards for their amazing businesses and are important role models for future generations of youth to come. My name is Braden.
And I'm Natasha.
Today, we are here to share our program, the Indigenous Youth Idea Challenge.
The Canadian Council for Indigenous Business found the biggest issues facing Indigenous entrepreneurs is access to financing and that many businesses were operating without a formal business plan. We saw the need in Saskatchewan's Indigenous communities for business education.
To address these issues, we created the Indigenous Youth Idea Challenge, a unique opportunity that encourages aspiring entrepreneurs to take their business ideas to the next level.
The Iac Project consists of a series of workshops where business representatives from the community take these participants through the basics of starting a business. This year, for the first time, we had our 8 workshops online. And throughout these workshops, we introduced participants to our sponsors, Affinity Credit Union, and taught them topics such as how to market their business, manage their accounts, understand legal contracts, and more.
The challenge has created a tight-knit community of driven Indigenous entrepreneurs and leaders. Once in the program, they develop relationships with other participants, workshop presenters, and prominent Indigenous business leaders in the community.
4 years ago, we had 10 participants. That number grew to 17 this year. And while enduring the struggles of the pandemic, we were still able to maintain the same success as previous years and grew our reach to even more entrepreneurs across the province. The competition ends with the Awards Gala, where 5 participants pitch their business plans to a panel of judges consisting of sponsors, local entrepreneurs, U of S faculty, and previous winners. The ideas are then graded on the quality of their business plans and pitch. They were able to host the gala this year using our online platform, Hopin.
In 2019, we introduced the Under 19 category to encourage additional youth participation in the program. This has shown to be a tremendous success, as this year, 17-year-old Kayla Little Poplar pushed through adversity by winning both the U19 category and taking 3rd place overall with her Cree language teaching book idea.
Meet previous winner and founder C. Lycia's Design Fashion Studio, Stephanie Gamble. She designs and produces her own clothing line, organizes runway shows, and empowers Indigenous youth by providing opportunities in modeling. Here's Stephanie is explaining her thoughts on the workshop and the program after her win last year.
I attended them like 4 different years. So it was really good. It was very helpful. It really broke down everything. Yes, I would recommend this. It's like a super awesome program.
After living in a cycle of abuse, Stephanie began following in her grandmother's footsteps and started designing clothing. Fashion became her escape to cope with past traumas. Each of her pieces are unique and represent individualism, empowerment, and confidence. She has also inspired other Indigenous youth to challenge their ideas, as this year we saw her younger sister, Britt Gamble, attend the workshops and successfully win 2nd place at the final gala.
With her winnings, Stephanie is planning on reinvesting the money back into her business for things such as supplies and a new office space, allowing her to be more creative and successful as time comes. Since the start of this program, we have provided capital to 19 Indigenous youth,
empowering them to turn their business ideas into reality,
and impacted over 175 participants,
providing them with the skills and knowledge to enhance their entrepreneurial journey.
We are 20 students from Enactus University of Saskatchewan, impacting,
encouraging,
empowering Indigenous youth of today,
and building leaders of tomorrow.
It is now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each of you, please, each student, please say your name, school name, excuse me, to make sure your audio is working properly.
University of Saskatchewan.
University of Saskatchewan.
University of Saskatchewan.
Thank you for that. And we'll start off with the first question from Andrew Bruegel of TD Wealth. What is your vision for the growth of this program?
For Iac, we hope to expand the program by partnering with Indigenous organizations within our local community. That way we can reach out to more Indigenous youth who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs.
Judges, go ahead and send any more questions in the direct message function to me in the chat. Okay, we have another question here from Nokwanda Sukati of TD Insurance. Do you provide ongoing support to the winners for their budding businesses?
We usually check in with the winners 6 months after the competition has ended to see how they're doing. And we also provide an update as well 1 year after they have won the competition to see how they have done. And so we do provide some form of support after they have won.
Any other questions from judges? Another question here from Nokwandi Sukati. Is there any accountability for their startup capital, or they can spend it as they wish?
In our contracts, we state that the funds have to be used for the purposes of growing their business. As part of the checkup, we make sure that they are accountable with the funds that they are spending.
Okay, thank you. The question and answer period has now finished. Judges, please join me in congratulating the University of Saskatchewan. Judges, we have a couple of minutes as we bring the next team. Please use the time to complete your green sheet and we'll get started momentarily. Please join me now in welcoming the Enactus team from Wilfrid Laurier University. Please open their report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to their green sheet in your judge handbook. Judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the report. Judges, please turn your attention now to the screen as we play the video.
At Enactus Laurier, we're building the future, creating world-class social enterprises run by world-class student leaders who are working to change the future for the better. Here's how we do it. We believe everyone has the power to change the world. All it takes is one innovative idea put into action. We've built a 4-phased process to empower the leaders of tomorrow to take this action using solid business principles. Phase 1 is inspiration. In order to come up with the ideas to solve the problems we are facing, we recognize that we need to first understand these problems on a much deeper level. We inspire future social entrepreneurs to dig into the problems they are passionate about through a problem pitch competition. This year, our competition was judged by 2 prominent Ashoka Fellows, and we had over 124 teams participate. That's 520 students introduced to the power of entrepreneurship. Next comes Phase 2, innovation. Our second event is a solution hackathon we call Enactathon, where students come up with innovative solutions to their research problems. The strongest teams are accepted into our innovation funnel, where we move ideas through intense research and development to prove viability. Currently, we have 5 enterprises in innovation, one of which is Smile Tabs. After discovering that over 20 billion non-recyclable toothpaste tubes are produced annually around the world, a group of Enactus Laurier students were committed to making a difference. They're continuously iterating their 100% plastic-free, single-use, and squeezable toothpaste capsule solution, and they'll soon be moving on to the next phase, incubation.
Through an immersive and hands-on learning environment, we provide teams with the resources and mentorship to develop feasible and self-sustaining business models. We currently have 2 enterprises in this phase, one of which is Last 20. Inspired to come up with more innovative ways of solving the plastic crisis, Last 20 prototyped various business models and eventually uncovered a unique opportunity worth exploring: to upcycle plastic waste into sustainable pavement. Traditional pavement uses a form of crude oil called bitumen as a binding agent. Last 20 supplements a portion of bitumen, which is typically 10% of the final product, with low-density polyethylene, a thin plastic material commonly found in plastic bags that is difficult to recycle. Earlier this year, we were excited to enter into a partnership with a private developer, Avidus, for a pilot project of our sustainable pavement. We also secured an agreement with a local plastic supplier to source between 10 to 20 tons of post-industrial plastic waste for our asphalt mixture. Set to commence this summer and projected to be roughly the size of a soccer field, our pilot will be the first to take place in Ontario, bringing us one step closer to disrupting the construction industry and creating a future of sustainable infrastructure. At this rate, Last 20 is projected to enter the final phase of our entrepreneurial process, acceleration, by the end of this year. In this phase, our emphasis turns to scaling our successfully incubated enterprises to expand their impact. Let's take a look at one of our 2 enterprises that is currently in acceleration.
At Earthsuds, we refuse the use of plastic entirely by developing zero-waste shampoo, conditioner, and body wash tablets. And this past September, our innovative solution was recognized as the top Enactus enterprise globally for solving the ocean plastics crisis in the One Race for Oceans challenge. But then, the pandemic struck. Amid a great deal of uncertainty, we recognize this challenge as an opportunity to grow. Over the last 12 months, we've aggressively expanded our e-commerce channel internationally. This has resulted in a 335% increase in e-commerce sales, selling over 80,000 tablets and generating more than $66,000 in revenue. Our extended outreach has also created new business opportunities, and we're excited to be currently in conversation with 4Ocean for a partnership opportunity. However, our growth isn't just limited to e-commerce. We've recently come into an agreement with Sobeys to be added to their catalog. This listing will start in Ontario, where we anticipate to have product displays in around 100 stores in the next 5 months. We've also innovated our product offerings, and will soon be targeting a niche market with suds for curly hair. That said, this exponential increase in demand has resulted in a large operational challenge: production. Over the last year, all production was done by hand, allowing us to hire 8 individuals with developmental disabilities across 13 green work placements. Adamant to continue providing these opportunities, we were reluctant to outsource production, but after months of soaring demand with over $52,000 in backlogged orders, we had to rethink our business model. We have since come to an agreement with a contract manufacturer, and thanks to the strength in our demand, we're expecting to employ 4 adults with developmental disabilities in full-time roles this year in data entry and customer service. At Enactus Laurier, we inspire, innovate, incubate, and accelerate the boldest innovations. We empower future social entrepreneurs to take on today's most daunting problem and support them as they use business to change the world for the better. Through the power of social entrepreneurship, we're building the future.
And it's now time for the question and answer period. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Click on chat and use the drop-down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each of you students say your school name, please, to make sure your audio is working properly.
Wilfrid Laurier University.
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 Wonderful, we can hear you very well. So we will just wait for some questions to come in before we start. Okay, first question coming in now from Andrew Bruegel of TD Wealth. Do you have a pipeline of new ideas in the works that you can share, or is this the focus on, building the current product lines?
At Enactus Laurier, we do have a bunch of different ideas and different projects that are in our pipeline, which we did mention in the videos. We have something in ideation, some are in the incubation phase, in the innovation phase. So we definitely have a lot of different ideas that we're slowly working to create into full revenue generating businesses. and to scale into the market.
Next question from Megan Gold of TD Insurance. With many vendors and governing bodies eliminating single-use plastics, do you think this could affect business in the future?
Definitely. That's honestly a wave that we're comfortable riding, and that's something that has a lot of positive impact for our business. One specific case that I can bring up is that a lot of hotels are now moving away from shampoo bottles, and that's why at Earthsides we're looking to pursue that new market and innovating. Thanks to some of our partners at a German university, we're looking at creating these new sud dispensers that we can have our Earthsides in. That'll allow them to alleviate the plastic bottles while keeping their customers just as happy.
Next question from Nokwanda Sukati of TD Insurance. How do you think COVID can impact your supply with your partnership with Sobeys? What strategy have you formulated to mitigate that impact?
Fortunately, all of our conversations with Sobeys have been either towards the earlier stages of COVID or right now during the midst of COVID. And we still have been able to continue pursuing these conversations. And unfortunately in Ontario, our restrictions are a little stronger than elsewhere in the province or in the country. And we've still been able to continue furthering these conversations. And we're still anticipating to have 100 displays and 100 displays in 100 different stores. And I might be able to pass it over to Katie, who's actually our enterprise manager, who might be able to touch on this a little bit further.
Yeah, just to sum it up, our conversations all happened through COVID, and it is actually them wanting to introduce more local during COVID that brought this opportunity to us. So we see it as a benefit.
Question from Joelle Mercer of TD. Are Earthsides partners in hotels or stores? I see Sobeys.
Right now, our two national retail partners that we do have are Sobeys and Loblaws, but we're continuing conversations with many others. For example, we're looking at pursuing conversations with Canadian Tire to reach a new market, especially in this time of camping. And with hotels, we are looking at furthering those conversations as well. We originally started with hotels, but they wanted to have proven a customer interest. And now that we have that, we can now revisit those conversations.
Okay, thank you. The question and answer period time has now expired. Judges, please join me in congratulating Wilfrid Laurier University. Judges, we have a couple of minutes now as we bring the next team. Please use this time to complete your green sheet and we'll get started momentarily. Please join me now in welcoming the Enactus team from St. Mary's University. Please open the report from the link in your email, which we also just shared in the chat, and scroll to the green sheet in your judge handbook. Judges, you will now have 3 minutes to review the report. Judges, please now turn your attention to the screen as we play the video.
What does entrepreneurship mean? For Enactus St. Mary's, it goes beyond creating businesses. To us, it means adding value to your community through the pursuit of new opportunities.
Today, we are thrilled to present how our project, Square Roots, has enabled entrepreneurs around the world to add value to their communities and directly impact the lives of those around them. In 2016, we created Square Roots to divert ugly or surplus fruits and vegetables from the landfill, allowing this produce to end up in the hands of individuals who might not be able to afford it otherwise.
The process is simple. We buy fruits and vegetables from local farmers and sell this perfectly good produce at a reduced price. This allows farmers to turn their surplus crops into a new revenue stream and allows more people access to fresh food. We distribute this produce to our network of community managers who each operate as their own business. This gives them the freedom to run their own locations, manage their finances, and create new opportunities. Each community manager can tailor fit the model to meet the unique needs in their community.
Square Roots eliminates barriers to entry by covering all startup costs for new locations. This means anyone who's interested can learn valuable entrepreneurial skills, like marketing, networking, finances, and inventory management. Some of our community managers have even involved their children in their operations, empowering them from a young age with important business knowledge.
For Enactus St. Mary's, the foundation of entrepreneurship has always been social impact. That's why we faced a difficult decision in March of 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit Nova Scotia. How do we continue to operate when our consumers are among the most affected?
Following the lead from Jason, the community manager of our Sackville location, we pivoted our business model. Anyone who needed food would get it, free of charge. We rallied a total of $30,000 from our partners and provided our community managers the resources they needed to offer an optional free vegetable program. Strong partnerships have been vital to our success. Halifax Public Library bought 5,000 pounds of produce to distribute across the city. Weston Foods partnered with us to give away 4,800 loaves of Wonder Bread, and At Home Harvest uses our produce to provide real meals to those in need. Our community managers have grown their operations by developing important connections of their own. Like Yvonne, our manager in Fairview Clayton Park, Nova Scotia, who built a strong partnership with the Salvation Army. They have provided her a location, and in return, Yvonne has supplied them with produce.
Well, the Salvation Army, the building that we are fortunate enough to be able to operate out of, is one of my biggest partnerships because they allow us to come do what we need to do with the bundling on Friday night, with the delivery people picking up on Saturday mornings, as well as we have people now, after September, we started also allowing people to shop, which is what's also keeping us in business, because if people are shopping, we're able to continue to buy more produce and to give it away to those in need in the community. Because I think they were concerned initially that we wouldn't have enough free to supply the people that were needing. And it's wonderful now that they realize I order the produce. No issues whatsoever about running out. We will have enough for everyone.
She also has partnerships with Kin Club of Halifax and schools in her community.
Brenda is another one of our amazing entrepreneurial community managers. She was able to develop a partnership with Atlantic Gold Mines, who sponsored her entire donation program from July until October. In October, we returned to paid operations. We knew we needed a sustainable business model to keep providing free produce to those in need. We increased the minimum price of our bundles by 50% to $7.50, which is significantly below market price. Our increased prices allow us to maintain our social impact and ensure that anyone that requests a free bundle gets one.
This year, we welcomed 4 new entrepreneurs, bringing the Square Roots Network to a total of 12 community locations, including 2 outside North America. We've created vital partnerships across various levels of government, and some have even been inspired to create their own locations, such as local councillor Tony Mancini. For our service, Square Roots was recognized in the House of Commons.
In total, this year, our locations have diverted over 175,000 pounds of food, fed over 50,000 individuals, and created endless partnerships.
And like our tasty veggies, we're still growing, with new locations in the works for 2021 in Nova Scotia and internationally. From Atlantic Canada to Zimbabwe, new locations means new entrepreneurs and stronger communities.
Thank you. It's now time for the question and answer period to begin. Judges, please submit your questions through the chat function at the bottom of your screen by clicking on chat and using the drop-down to ensure you send your questions directly to me, moderator Colin Monk. And while the questions start coming in, I'm going to have each student please say your school name to ensure that your audio is working properly.
St. Mary's University.
St. Mary's University.
St. Mary's University.
St. Mary's University.
Thank you for that. And now, judges, I'll wait for your questions to come in. We have a first question here from Debbie Russell of TD. How and where do you source your community partners?
Our partners are found in so many fun and unique ways. So some, such as TELUS, hear about us and want to contribute to our mission. TELUS gave us $20,000 after hearing about the work we did in our community. Other partnerships we pursue when we find opportunities. In Halifax, Nova Scotia, they banned all the plastic bags here. And a lot of these were actually going to go to the landfill because they simply couldn't use the bags they had at their store. So we actually capitalized on that, reached out to businesses, and we're able to use these to package our bundles and give them away.
Thank you. Another question here from Andrew Bruegel of TD Wealth. How do you leverage lessons learned by individual managers to improve the program as a whole?
Great question. Thank you so much. So there are so many cool ways we engage our community managers. So we actually have a large Facebook group where we're all constantly keeping in contact and talking about different issues as they arise and ways to solve them. And whenever we bring on a new manager, we actually pair them up with an existing manager so that they can learn some of those lessons that have already been learned previously.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, I'd love to add on, A perfect example of this is we're currently launching a rural location in Masstown, Nova Scotia. So we partnered her with another rural location in Musquodoboit Valley, Nova Scotia, so that they could understand how to help each other with rural communities.
Thank you. Judges, if you have any other questions, please go ahead and send them in the chat. Okay, we have a question from Joelle Mercer of TD. What is the revenue from your new managers and locations started this year, not including grants?
The revenue from our managers, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Maddie and I work very closely together, but I believe it is also about, I want to say $60,000.
Yeah, it's about that. Yep.
Any other questions, judges? Please send them in the chat. Another question from Andrew Bruegel. What is the biggest challenge you face in the pandemic?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge, we're always looking to overcome challenges because it's such a valuable learning experience. But COVID-wise, of course, the restrictions were very hard because
your time has expired. I'm sorry to interrupt. Judges, please join me in congratulating St. Mary's University.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, judges. I'm just confirming that live streaming has stopped and I am back here again. So judges, that was our final presentation of the day. Please complete your final individual team evaluation form and scroll to the cumulative evaluation form where you will see your assessments have been transferred. You can use these assessments as a guide to rank the teams from 1 to 6, with 1 being your first choice. There is a link in your yellow cumulative evaluation form that also just has been shared in the chat where you can submit your rankings. Just wait for that to get shared in the chat shortly. At the end of the day, the rankings are what we will use to determine the results of the competition. Oh, we're just going to wait a little bit because it seems that we still have some students in the room. Sorry about that. Okay. It seems the students are gone. Sorry about that. So after you've finalized your rankings, please save and return your judge handbook by replying to your judge instruction email and attaching the completed saved form. We ask that you submit your rankings no later than 3:30 p.m. Eastern today, so you don't have a lot of time, so we can finalize results for tomorrow's announcement. If you want some more time finalizing your comments to the teams in the handbook, that's no problem. Just please have them back to us by the end of today. If you have any questions now, please just unmute yourself or you could ask them in the chat. And before we leave to your evaluations and rankings, I just want to say thank you very much once again for joining us today. And we hope you enjoyed your afternoon. Thank you very much.